Your morning coffee might be poisoning you. Not someday, not maybe, today. Because behind those red cans, gold tins, plastic pods, and drive-through cups is a system quietly pumping carcinogens, mold toxins, hormone disruptors, and industrial chemicals into millions of American homes. But here's the problem. Most of it is hidden behind premium labels, fake flavors, and corporate lies. And it gets worse because federal recalls, SEC charges, lab reports, and lawsuits have already documented broken glass, deadly bacteria risks, solvent residues, and forever chemicals tied to products people drink like it's harmless comfort. For seniors watching their hearts, pregnant women protecting their babies, and parents pouring this for their kids, this isn't just caffeine, it's a long-term health gamble. After months of digging through court records and test data, I'm exposing 10 coffee brands facing serious allegations, and I'll end with 4 brands that still pass strict third-party lab tests. 10. Nescafe Taster's Choice. We begin with a brand that has sat in American pantries for decades, the glass jar. The Taster's Choice label, the promise of sophisticated premium flavor in an instant. It looks convenient, it looks harmless, but looks are deceiving. When you dissolve those crystals in hot water, you aren't just drinking coffee, you are drinking the byproduct of extreme industrial chemistry. The evidence against Nescafe lies in its very creation. To turn coffee beans into instant crystals, Nestlé utilizes a process called spray drying. This isn't artisanal roasting, it is a violent thermal event. The coffee extract is blasted through a nozzle into a chamber heated to 480 degrees Fahrenheit. Here is the scientific reality. At that extreme temperature, a dangerous chemical reaction occurs. The natural amino acid in the bean, known as asparagine, is thermally converted into acrylamide. This is not a flavor compound. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies acrylamide as a Group 2 a probable human carcinogen. It is the same toxic compound found in tobacco smoke and industrial plastics. While fresh roasted coffee contains trace amounts, instant coffee concentrates it. This is why brands like Nescafe have been entangled in legal battles under California Proposition 65, a statute requiring warning labels on products containing chemicals known to cause cancer or reproductive toxicity. They fought to keep those labels off the jar, not by removing the chemical, but by arguing over legal technicalities. For seniors relying on this for a daily boost, or cancer survivors strictly monitoring toxin intake, this is a direct contradiction to your health goals. Your liver is forced to process a carcinogen that shouldn't be there. Real coffee is roasted. Nescafe is engineered. The difference is cellular damage. If you thought a global giant like Nestlé was safe, wait until you see what the premium Italian brands are hiding behind their gold labels. 9. Lavazza, Italian heritage, gold tins, a price tag that screams quality. You buy this because you believe European coffee is superior, cleaner, and more sophisticated than the American options on the shelf below. You're buying a story. But the forensic lab results tell a drastically different narrative. In 2019, the rigorous German consumer safety organization Öko-Test conducted a deep dive analysis of major espresso brands sold globally. The results shattered the premium illusion. In their testing of commercial non-organic lines, the laboratory detected the presence of ochratoxin A. This is not a flavor note. Ochratoxin A is a dangerous mycotoxin produced by the Aspergillus fungus, often found when coffee beans are stored in damp industrial silos for too long. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies OTA as a Group 2B carcinogen. It is a nephrotoxin, meaning it specifically targets and accumulates in the kidneys. The premium label on a Lavazza tin does not guarantee purity. Unless you are buying their specific organic line, you're likely consuming beans from industrial farms heavily treated with agrochemicals. The same Öko-Test reports flagged pesticide residues in mass-market coffees that lack rigorous organic certification. For American consumers, this is the ultimate betrayal of value. You pay double the price of Folgers expecting to avoid the cheap stuff, but you are simply paying for expensive gold packaging wrapping a contaminated product. You are importing the toxin, not the quality. Toxins hiding in the bean are bad enough. But what happens when a brand intentionally adds paint chemicals to your cup? 8. International Delight. If you have a bottle of International Delight in your fridge, I want you to go look at it. Do not look at the picture of the cinnamon roll or the vanilla bean. Look at the ingredient label. You will likely see water, either palm oil, and sugar. But deeper in that list lies a chemical that has no business in the human body, titanium dioxide. This is not food. It is an industrial whitening pigment used in paint, sunscreen, and plastics to make them appear brighter. International Delight uses it for one reason, to trick your brain into thinking a mixture of water and oil looks like rich white cream. But the European Food Safety Authority has seen enough. In 2022, the EFSA officially banned titanium dioxide, or E171, as a food additive across the European Union. Their panel of scientists concluded that E171 can no longer be considered safe because they could not rule out genotoxicity, the ability of a chemical to directly damage your DNA and lead to carcinogenic effects. While Europe was banning it to protect their citizens, American shelves remained stocked with it. But the chemical cocktail doesn't end there. We also find carrageenan, a thickening agent derived from seaweed. Reports from the Cornucopia Institute have long highlighted research linking food-grade carrageenan to gastrointestinal inflammation and intestinal lesions. When you pour this into your morning cup, you aren't adding cream. You are adding a whitening paint pigment and an inflammatory thickener to mask the reality of cheap palm oil. This is a liquid dessert designed to disrupt your gut health. Additives kill you slowly, but this next brand sent people to the emergency room in a single night. 7. Death Wish Coffee. The name isn't just a marketing gimmick. For consumers in 2017, it was a legitimate medical threat. This brand built an empire on a macho image, skull and crossbones. World's strongest coffee, targeting consumers who think standard caffeine isn't enough. But behind the aggressive branding lies a history of dangerous manufacturing oversight. In September 2017, Death Wish Coffee Company was forced to issue a massive recall of their 11-ounce nitro cold brew cans, an action logged in the FDA recall enforcement reports. The reason? Their manufacturing process failed to prevent the growth of Clostridium botulinum. This is not a simple stomach bug. Botulism is a rare, potentially fatal illness caused by a nerve toxin produced by the bacteria. It causes paralysis, respiratory failure, and death. The company had processed a low-acid liquid in a low-oxygen environment without the proper thermal kill step. They were literally canning a neurotoxin and selling it as an energy boost. Even without the bacteria, the chemical composition of this coffee is a hazard. A single 12-ounce cup contains up to 728 milligrams of caffeine. To put that into perspective, the FDA cites 400 milligrams as the maximum safe daily limit for a healthy adult. One cup of Death Wish places you at nearly double the federal safety threshold. For a senior with hypertension or anyone with an underlying heart condition, a dose of 728 milligrams is not a wake-up call. It is a catalyst for tachycardia, severe anxiety, and emergency room visits for cardiac distress. They use cheap, harsh Robusta beans to achieve these levels, prioritizing toxicity over quality. That brand screams danger, but this next household icon smiles at you while hiding a cancer secret. 6. Folgers. The best part of waking up. That jingle is etched into the American psyche. The red canister is a symbol of nostalgia, sitting on Grandma's counter for 60 years. But if you look at the court records, that red plastic bin represents one of the most secretive and chemically compromised products on the market. Folgers isn't just coffee. It is the subject of a massive legal battle known as Council for Education and Research on Toxics versus Starbucks et al. In this landmark litigation, the council sued major coffee roasters, including Folgers' parent company, the J.M. Smucker Company, for failing to warn consumers about acrylamide. While artisan roasters use high-quality Arabica beans that produce lower levels of this carcinogen, Folgers relies heavily on cheap Robusta beans. These industrial-grade beans contain higher levels of free asparagine, which converts into significantly higher concentrations of acrylamide during the high-heat roasting process required to mask their bitter taste. They fought for years not to remove the toxin, but to avoid putting the Proposition 65 cancer warning label on your canister. But the betrayal goes deeper for those trying to be healthy. If you drink Folgers decaf to protect your heart, you are likely ingesting a chemical used to strip paint. The Clean Label Project has detected methylene chloride in leading decaf brands. Methylene chloride is so toxic that the EPA banned its use in consumer paint strippers in 2019 due to risks of asphyxiation and liver toxicity. Yet, the FDA allows Folgers to use it to chemically strip caffeine from your beans. They rinse the beans in a solvent bath rather than using the safe, chemical-free Swiss water process because it is cheaper. For seniors trusting this brand to be heart-healthy, you are trading caffeine for a solvent linked to liver and lung damage. That red canister doesn't protect the freshness. It hides the truth. Folgers hides chemicals, but this premium brand hid broken glass in your morning treat. 5. Starbucks Bottled Frappuccino. The green mermaid logo is the most recognized symbol of coffee quality on Earth. When you grab a cold glass bottle from a gas station cooler, your brain associates it with the skilled barista and fresh beans of a coffee house. That is a calculated illusion. You are not buying a barista-crafted beverage. You are buying a mass-manufactured sugar bomb produced by PepsiCo. The manufacturing negligence behind this product was laid bare in early 2023. According to the FDA enforcement report, PepsiCo was forced to recall over 300,000 bottles of Starbucks vanilla Frappuccino. The reason wasn't a flavor defect, it was foreign object contamination, glass. Inside these premium-looking bottles, unsuspecting consumers risked swallowing glass shards. This is what happens when a coffee brand scales into an industrial soda manufacturing conglomerate. The quality control fails, and the physical safety of the consumer is compromised. But even if your bottle is glass-free, the liquid inside is a metabolic weapon. Read the label. A single 13.7-ounce bottle contains 46 grams of sugar. Let's anchor that number to reality. The American Heart Association recommends a strict maximum of 36 grams of added sugar per day for men. One drink doesn't just break that limit, it shatters it. You are drinking a liquefied dessert that triggers a violent insulin spike, followed by an inflammatory crash. For a diabetic thinking they are just having coffee, this is dangerous. For a teenager, this trains their brain to equate coffee with candy. The mermaid isn't protecting you. She is distracting you while you drink a product that failed federal safety standards. Glass is a visible danger, but this next threat is invisible, hormonal, and leaches into every single cup. 4. Green Mountain K-Cups. The name Green Mountain implies nature, purity, and environmental stewardship. Do not be fooled. This brand is the face of a massive corporate fraud that was prosecuted by federal regulators just months ago. In September 2024, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission officially charged Keurig Dr. Pepper for misleading the public. For years, they stamped recyclable on their plastic K-Cups. They told you it was a responsible choice, but the SEC investigation revealed the truth. Keurig's own testing showed that recycling facilities overwhelmingly rejected these small pods. They knew the pods ended up in landfills, yet they sold you the lie to ease your conscience. Keurig agreed to pay a $1.5 million penalty to settle these charges. If they lie about the plastic after you use it, imagine what they are hiding about the plastic while you use it. When you brew a Green Mountain K-Cup, you are subjecting cheap plastic to pressurized water at 192 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, the polymer structure of the cup degrades. Research published in Environmental Health Perspectives and conducted by labs like Certichem has shown that many commercially available plastics release chemicals with estrogenic activity when stressed by heat. You are brewing a hormonal cocktail. These leached chemicals mimic estrogen in the human body, potentially disrupting the endocrine system. For a pregnant woman or a senior with declining kidney filtration, this is a daily dose of microplastics and chemical leachates. You're paying a premium for convenience, but the real cost is a $1.5 million fraud and a daily ingestion of hot plastic water. Plastic pods are expensive waste, but this budget brand cuts costs by selling you fungus. 3. Great value coffee. At barely $4 a canister, Walmart's house brand looks like a miracle for families stretching a grocery budget. But in the world of forensics, if the numbers don't add up, a crime is being committed. In this case, the victim is your long-term health. Do the math with me. To produce, roast, package, ship, and stock a pound of coffee for under $5, while still making a profit, Walmart cannot buy grade A beans. They must buy the bottom of the barrel. These are commodity-grade beans, often sourced from the leftovers of global harvests and stored in massive, non-climate-controlled silos for months or even years. These damp, dark storage conditions are the perfect breeding ground for a specific fungus, Aspergillus carbonarius. When this fungus attacks the coffee bean, it secretes ochratoxin A. This is not something you can roast away. It is a thermally stable toxin that survives the brewing process and ends up in your mug. While Consumer Reports and other independent testers consistently rank great value at the bottom for taste, citing burnt rubber and dirt flavors, those sensory notes are often the mask for defective, moldy beans that have been over-roasted to hide the rot. You are not getting a deal. You are acting as the biological filter for corporate cost-cutting. For seniors with compromised immune systems, relying on the cheapest coffee on the shelf is a gamble with kidney health. You are saving $2 today to pay for liver toxicity tomorrow. Walmart is cheap and dirty, but this drive-through giant serves you forever chemicals with a smile. 2. McCafe. The Golden Arches. They promise consistency and speed. You drive through, grab a hot cup of premium roast, and assume the biggest restaurant chain in the world has safety protocols in place. But the danger here isn't just the bean, it is the vessel. In 2022, a damning investigation by the environmental health organization Toxic Free Future, alongside testing by Consumer Reports, exposed a silent epidemic in the fast food industry. They detected PFAS, per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances in the packaging used by major chains, including McDonald's. These are known as forever chemicals. They are used to make the paper cup waterproof and grease-resistant. But here is the physics of the crime. When you pour coffee heated to 190 degrees Fahrenheit into a chemically treated liner, you create a leaching event. The heat destabilizes the barrier, allowing these microscopic toxins to migrate directly into your beverage. Once ingested, PFAS do not degrade, they bioaccumulate. They bind to proteins in your blood and settle in your kidneys and liver. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has linked PFAS exposure to kidney cancer, testicular cancer, and immune system suppression. Every morning you drink McCafe, you are potentially adding to a chemical load that your body cannot eliminate. You are trading a $2 convenience for a lifetime of toxic retention. McCafe poisons the cup, but at least it's coffee. This final brand fakes the food itself. 1. Dunkin. We have reached the #1 offender. The slogan says, America runs on Dunkin. But if you look at the forensic evidence in federal court dockets, a more accurate slogan would be, America runs on deception. This brand represents the absolute pinnacle of the fake food era. We are placing them at the top of this list, not just because of what is in the cup, but because of a documented legal history of simulating reality. If they lie about the solid food in your hand, you cannot trust the liquid in your cup. Exhibit A. Musat versus Dunkin Brands Incorporated, filed in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. In this class action lawsuit, the plaintiff exposed a stunning truth about the company's beloved blueberry products. The forensic reality? Those weren't blueberries. They were flavor crystals, globules of sugar, corn syrup, and gum, dyed with blue #1 to chemically impersonate a fruit. They didn't sell you nature, they sold you a laboratory simulation of nature. Exhibit B, Chuf and Chen versus Dunkin Brands Incorporated, filed in the Eastern District of New York. Here, and the Angus steak sandwich was put on trial. Consumers paid a premium believing they were eating a cut of steak. The lawsuit alleged they were actually eating a ground beef patty mixed with fillers and binders. Again, the pattern is clear. Premium marketing wrapping a cheap industrial imitation. Now apply this corporate mindset to their coffee. When you order a butter pecan or caramel swirl iced coffee, you aren't getting coffee flavored with ingredients. You are getting pumps of high fructose corn syrup and potassium sorbate. A single large frozen coffee can contain over 120 grams of sugar. That is not a beverage. That is a metabolic assault. That is 4 days worth of sugar injected into your bloodstream in 20 minutes. And let's talk about the vessel. For decades, Dunkin was the king of styrofoam, a material linked to styrene leaching. While they have transitioned to paper and plastic, they now serve millions of gallons of hot liquid in cups topped with plastic #5, polypropylene lids. At 190 degrees, you're sipping that chemical syrup through a heated plastic gate. Dunkin is not a coffee shop. It is a chemical factory serving liquid candy to a workforce it views as an addiction revenue stream. They fake the fruit. They fake the meat. Do not trust them with your brain health. Corporate greed has corrupted the aisle. From mold toxins in Walmart's bins to fake ingredients in Dunkin's kitchen, the landscape is a minefield. But real coffee still exists. You just need to know where to look. 4. Cafe Bustelo. Finally, we have proof that you do not need to be a millionaire to drink safe coffee. Cafe Bustelo is the anomaly in the budget aisle. While Folgers and Maxwell House cut costs with plastic tubs that allow air to oxidize the oils, turning the coffee rancid before you even buy it, Bustelo uses vacuum-packed technology. Pick up that yellow brick. It is hard as a rock. That is the sound of safety. By removing all oxygen immediately after roasting and sealing it under pressure, Roland Coffee Roasters prevents lipid oxidation. They stop the clock. This creates an anaerobic environment where aerobic mold cannot grow and oils cannot degrade. When you open that brick, you hear the hiss. That is the sound of freshness entering the room. You get a bold, dark roast that relies on heat and pressure, not chemical solvents, to deliver flavor. It is strong, it is honest, and it is the only budget brand that respects the chemistry of the bean. 3. Purity Coffee. If you view coffee as medicine, this is your prescription. Purity Coffee does not just claim to be clean, they prove it with forensic-level transparency. In an industry defined by opacity, they operate like a pharmaceutical company. Every single batch is subjected to third-party laboratory testing. They test for mold, toxins, pesticides, and heavy metals. If a batch fails, it is destroyed. It never reaches your doorstep. But the authority anchor here is the Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center certification. This is the gold standard of environmental purity, verifying that the beans are shade-grown in diverse ecosystems, not industrial monocultures. This farming method naturally yields nutrient-dense beans. The lab data confirms the difference. Purity contains up to 65% higher antioxidants, specifically chlorogenic acid, than standard organic brands. They roast precisely to the point where health benefits are maximized before heat damage occurs. This is not just a beverage, it is a verified anti-inflammatory supplement for your liver and brain. 2. LifeBoost Coffee. For millions of Americans, the morning ritual is followed by the morning burn. Acid reflux, GERD, stomach pain. If you have been forced to quit coffee because your body can no longer handle the acidity, this is your solution. Most low-acid coffees on the market are frauds. They take cheap beans and treat them with alkaline chemicals to force the pH up. LifeBoost does it through geography, not chemistry. Sourced strictly from the mountains of Nicaragua, these beans are grown at high altitudes in the shade. The science is simple. The cooler air causes the coffee cherry to mature slower. This natural delay prevents the formation of harsh acidic compounds. While standard Folgers hits your stomach with a pH of 4.5, LifeBoost registers a verified pH of 6.0 or higher. That is near neutral. It is USDA organic, single origin, and relentlessly tested for mycotoxins. You get the antioxidants without the corrosion. For seniors with sensitive digestion or anyone battling ulcers, this restores your ritual without the regret. 1. Kicking Horse Coffee. And finally, the #1 spot goes to a brand that proves you don't need to order from a boutique website to get world-class safety. You can find this at Whole Foods and on Amazon right now. Kicking Horse Coffee is the gold standard of accessibility and integrity. While Folgers and Dunkin hide their supply chains behind trade secrets, Kicking Horse puts their credentials on the front of the bag. Fair Trade International and USDA Organic Certified. This guarantees zero synthetic pesticides and zero exploitation, but the real forensic evidence is on the back. Flip the bag. You will see a specific roasted-on date, not a Best Buy code that hides a product sitting in a warehouse for 2 years. A roasting date. This matters because coffee is a volatile food. Once roasted, the beneficial oils begin to oxidize. By giving you the date, they are giving you the power to verify freshness and bioavailability. They use only 100% Arabica beans roasted in the Rocky Mountains, ensuring that what you drink is actually coffee, not a chemistry experiment. This is what the aisle should look like. No secrets, no toxins, just the truth. You now possess the evidence dossier. The red canisters, the glass bottles, the plastic pods, these aren't just groceries. They are liabilities engineered for profit. Go to your kitchen right now, check the labels. If you see the names we indicted today, Folgers, International Delight, Dunkin, do not hesitate. Throw them out. Your liver and your family's future are worth more than the $5 you'll save by finishing the bag. We will keep investigating. We will keep exposing the names they don't want you to know. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. The next case file is already open. Stay sharp. Stay healthy.